biographical-ish movie written and directed by Stephen Spielberg that essentially tells the story of how Stephen Spielberg got into movies and got into making movies. He basically tells the story through this character, Sammy Fabelman, played by Gabriel LaBelle. It shows basically what his family life was like, you know, with his parents, played by Paul Dano and Michelle Williams, how they took him to the movies, he got excited for movies, fascinated with them, he wanted to make movies for himself, and shows not only what really started launching his career into wanting to make movies, but also what his family life was like, and what this passion for movies ultimately led to for him when it came to his family life. Steven Spielberg is one of the greatest directors of all time. He's one of my favorites to ever make movies. He's made some of my all-time favorite movies, including my all-time favorite movie in Jurassic Park. He's one of those guys, whenever he makes a movie, I will be on the lookout. I will probably make an attempt to see it. And what he's delivered to us here, I think, is one of the most personal stories he's ever given us, and one of the most affecting stories I've ever seen from him. This movie, it hit me in a lot of ways that I really was not expecting, and it honestly floored me. We'll get right into the performances of this movie. Gabriel LaBelle, who plays Sammy Fabelman, which is meant to be a reflection of Steven Spielberg, he's great in the movie. I haven't seen this kid in a whole lot. I really hope we get to see more of him. He does a really good job here. But what I really love seeing with him is the progression of his life, the progression of his love for movies and his progression in how to make movies. Because it really is remarkable in seeing how he learns how to edit movies and how he learns how to create movies, just little tips and tricks he does here in there. Like this one moment in particular, he's like filming this Western movie with some of his friends that are in the Boy Scout troops, and he wants to make these realistic gunshots. So during certain scenes in the film, when little gunshots are supposed to go off, he poked little holes in the film so you see this bright flash when a gun goes off, and it just made it look very real. And I loved hearing that little trick to how he made that happen. It really fascinated me because it really made me wonder, oh, so that's how effects were done back in the day. Something as simple as that. It gave me such an appreciation for filmmaking, and it really gave me an appreciation for seeing how this kid learned how to make these movies at such a young age. Also, I really love the family dynamic that's in this movie, namely the performances by the two actors playing his parents. Paul Dano, I really love seeing him in this movie. I love seeing the range that he has demonstrated this year. I mean, we saw him in The Batman play this insane, psychotic serial killer. In this movie, we see him play this lovable, but authoritative father. You know, he has kind of that very stern parent, you know, figure to him. Like, he loves his kids, he loves his family, he wants what's best for them. You know, he's trying to make strides in his own career to really provide for his family. And, you know, he is supportive to a degree with Sammy's love for filmmaking. But ultimately, he says to him, and this is something that I think a lot of people, you know, have maybe heard with certain passions in their life. It's like, you can't spend all this money, all this time on this hobby. And, you know, it's something that really triggers Sammy because he's like, this isn't just a hobby to me. It's something I think we've all faced before. It's like when you have this dream and you have this passion that maybe chance of you becoming famous for and making a career out of are slim to none, people want you to shelve it pretty quickly. It leads to a little bit of tension between him and his father, and I thought it really worked for the movie. It made it feel real. But yeah, I'll get into the big standout. Michelle Williams is phenomenal in this movie. Should she be up for supporting actress this year? Yeah, I think she should be, 100%. And I think she should probably win it. Her performance in this movie was so raw and so real and so heartbreaking in so many different moments and different scenes, because she has issues that she is dealing with that, you know, could affect, you know, the life of her family and her marriage and her kids. And you see how much it is eating away at her. Like, she's breaking down, she's so emotional, she can't handle so much that's going on. In a lot of ways, it leads to a very strong emotional connection between her and Sammy, but at the same time, it leads to a complicated one as well, because neither really knows how to help the other in this situation. One thing I really want to get into as well is there are a couple scenes, I'm trying not to spoil anything for you guys, but there are a couple scenes I want to talk about that really left something on myself that really got me thinking. They were really impactful monologues, really impactful scenes that I think really, really made this movie. There's one scene, Sammy's talking to his uncle that's visiting them. Well, actually, not his uncle, like his great uncle. And his uncle was a circus performer, and a really good one. Caused him to travel a lot, caused him to risk his life a few times. And he has a really deep conversation with Sammy, telling him, what you do is an art, what I did was an art. And the thing is, when you have such a passion for an art, it's going to cause you to make some really difficult decisions. Sometimes you're going to have to choose between your love for your art and your love for your family. And more often than not, your love for your art is going to win. And Sammy sits there and he's like, that would never happen. I would never choose anything over family. And his uncle kind of gives him a look. It's like, oh really? You say that, but give it time, kid. And it's absolutely true. I mean, there are so many people out there who are so involved with what they do for a living, something that they're just truly in love with doing. It could be making movies, it could be playing a sport, it could be writing music. And I think a lot of the times you see it causes a strain on their families. You could say ultimately that's why a lot of really successful couples, well, like wealthy and successful couples who have their passions, is ultimately why, the families get broken up, divorces happen, kids become estranged from their parents. It's what it is. It's a passion that really takes a hold of you, and it can lead to an obsession because you want to be great at it. And because you want to be great at it, it leads you to casting away people that you love. It's the one that really hit with me because it makes me think of a lot of the celebrities who are out there, a lot of people who are really good at what they do, some of the all-time greats, and it's like, how much did you have to sacrifice to get to where you are? And it's something they probably don't want to talk about. Another scene I want to talk about, there's a time when he's in school and he's been getting picked on by one of these guys, and he made a video for the school and he kind of painted the guy in a positive light, and the guy's kind of sitting there all mind-fucked. He's like, I was picking on you this whole time, you painted me as like this hero, like why would you do that? I don't want the world to see me as that hero because I am definitely not that hero. I really appreciated that scene right there because I think that right there was meant to be a reflection on really how people in Hollywood, namely the actors, the big time actors, like you think of people like Tom Hanks and Leonardo DiCaprio and Meryl Streep, people who often play the leads in these movies and are played as the heroes of these movies, and they're the people that we root for. They probably lead such a private, reclusive life because they don't want people to get to know the real them. Because people who get to know the real them might see them in the movie and be like, you're nothing like this hero or this character in this movie, so you're a fraud, you're not real, you stink. Like, playing the hero in the movie is a really tall task because all of a sudden people don't see you as a person anymore, they see you as this character, and that can take away your humanity. But the other big thing that I really want to talk about in this movie, and the reason that I loved it so much, was how much I connected with it. And that's the thing. I think ultimately how much you connect with this movie will fluctuate how you feel about it. That right there could be the deciding factor from liking this movie and loving this movie. I really connected with this movie, so that's why I really feel as strongly about it as I do. Just to give you guys an example, I do this. I don't make a living off this, but I make YouTube videos. I love doing it. It's awesome. It's fun. And I like making content for you guys. Do I get a ton of views? No, I don't. But that doesn't matter to me. This is fun. This is how I express my love for movies and my appreciation for the art that is cinema. But I've actually had conversations. In fact, I had a conversation with an ex-girlfriend who once told me, it's like, if one day we're married and we have kids and everything like that, you have to drop this. Like, you're not going anywhere with this. You're not doing anything with it. It's going to take up a bunch of time. Like, I would need you here present. And it hit me because, again, similar to what Sammy Fabelman had to deal with in this movie, it's like, well, yeah, you see this as just a hobby, but for me, it's not just a hobby. This is how I express my love for movies and how I really show how much these mean to me. And yeah, there was a time where I was aggressively pursuing this a little bit more and, thought I could make more of a living off it. Granted, that didn't happen, and that's fine. I've reached a point where that's okay. I do this for fun. I do this, as an expression of my love for movies, and it's great. But I do know what it's like to have someone tell you, it's like, hey, you're never going to be amazing at this, so quit it. It hits you like that. But it wasn't just that. I could relate in a lot of ways to the family troubles and drama that Sammy Fabelman ultimately goes through. I could, in some ways, relate to how he felt at school. I mean, I wasn't, viciously picked on or anything like that, but there were a lot of times where I did feel alone. I did feel a little bit like an outcast. So it's funny. It's like I walked out of this movie and I was like, damn, I really want to meet Steven Spielberg and just tell him, hey, I get it. I understand. Kind of. Not really. Maybe a little bit. And then maybe he'd be like, hey, that guy's going places or something. I don't know. It's where my brain goes. But ultimately, yeah, I felt a real connection with this movie, with this character, with this story. And yeah, because of that, it really, really made me fall in love with this movie. So all in all, The Fabelmans, it is a great story about the life of Steven Spielberg. I absolutely love the cast across the board. Everyone does incredible. Gabriel LaBelle, I want to see more of him. Paul Dano's great. Michelle Williams is fantastic. I love the way this movie was filmed. I love how it kind of looked like it took place back in the 1950s or whenever it's set in. It felt a little bit old-fashioned. And I like a little old-fashioned. I thought the story was fantastic. The storytelling was great. It is a little bit slow in parts, but not in a dragging out kind of way. It's the kind of movie that has really just stayed on my mind since I saw it. I am amazed by how much I really connected with this movie. And yeah, emotionally, there are quite a few times it really just knocked me on my ass. And in the end, I am very appreciative and thankful that Steven Spielberg, in a lot of ways, took us on this little journey and this story about his life and how he became who he was today. Yeah, I think this is one of the best movies he's made in quite a while, honestly. I hope he does more like this. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.